So today, I'm going to start off with some, I don't want to say basic training, foundational training, some conceptual training. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about is what we call the wheeling body, the side stance. So you've been training there before you've done this. Being able to turn your hips and shoulders into what you do, whether it's striking, kicking, joint locking, throwing, is very important. But also sort of apropos to the internal thing. We want to, at the beginning, do it kind of slow, because doing it kind of slow gets us also body awareness. The real secret, so to speak, quotation marks, about internal is there's no secret to it. It's just the efficient coordination of your entire body. So to do this, we're going to start off with our feet together and our hands on our hips. And it doesn't really matter whether I step out with my left or I step out with my right. None of these things are important. We're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is if I step out with my left, though, I'm going to be turning to my left. The leg that I'm turning towards will bend a little bit because I don't want to turn into a straight locked leg, right? And the other leg will kind of be straight. And the idea is that I'm stepping out like east and west, but my attention is going to be north. So I'm actually standing right in front of a heavy bag right now. As I step out, I'm still going to be looking at that bag. And you'll see now that my shoulder and my hip is lined up toward that bag. So now as I turn, I'm turning now to my right, so my right knee will be bent, my left leg is straight, and you'll see that my hips and shoulders are forward. Now again, right now, kind of do this slow, so that you sort of feel your whole body moving. This is the Tai Chi principle, which is that if you go slow, you can pay attention to what you're doing. It's not designed like you're not going to fight slow. And so one of the popular sayings is that your hip is moving like a pulley wheel. And so, for example, if I'm punching, I'm putting my hip and shoulder, and I'm not doing this, I'm doing this. So if I'm punching, my hip and shoulder are going in. If I'm punching, my hip and shoulder are going in. But it doesn't matter whether it's a punch or a push or a lock or a throw, I want to turn. Now the one thing is that, like I said, I'm looking forward as I'm doing this. The biggest mistake people used to make was, I'm looking here, I'm looking here. No, I'm still looking forward, but again, I want to turn. For example, if you've done any kind of hard styles, quote unquote hard styles like karate or taekwondo, they may have started you off doing something like this and punching, right? And they'll tell you, like, make sure you're punching to the middle, not punching here, right? Punch to the middle. So they're doing the middle. There's nothing particularly wrong with this, but what it's not teaching you to do is really put your hips and shoulders into what you're doing. What I'm doing is I'm turning my hips and shoulders into each punch. So one of the things we also do is we extend our arm out behind us when we do this. Not because particularly there's an application to this as far as like a fighting move, but because when I do this, I'm turning this shoulder forward, but extending this makes sure that the rear shoulder is going back. So now I'm not like halfway here. Sometimes people will do like halfway. You see I'm halfway. I'm extending all the way. Extending all the way. So this is conceptual. But if you think about like when I'm jabbing and I'm crossing, I'm not going. I'm turning my hips and shoulders, turning my hips and shoulders. Frank will remember that for a long time I ran my school when we were doing the modern training. So we were doing like a kickboxing format. And I turned around with you guys one day and said, I'm going to start showing you where it all came from the traditional. So I started showing the quote-unquote traditional in the side stance. And Frank kind of went, but this is hook and uppercut and jab and cross. And my response to Frank was, exactly. I think you can just keep your hands on your hips and turn, but get used to that. See how I'm kind of, this is also going to get you thoracic flexibility, mobility, turnings. So it becomes almost like a kind of yoga just by moving. So I want to show you like a practical example of this. And since we're going to do a lot of Shuai Jiao today, we'll start with a very simple Shuai Jiao move, which is I step, right? Good step, good. And the idea is as I read, push, right? Push. So you think about it, this doing is nothing, right? So what's happening? My arm is going straight, my leg is going back. So, looking at the camera, right? I'm not just doing this. See my hip and shoulder? If I go to the other side, I can jump right forward, right? I'm going here. Push. So you see how it's. So it could be a throwing movement. It could be a striking movement. He grabs my wrist. And I turn up and I lock him. Right? Am I making sense? He grabs my wrist. Right? So let's go back and